programming, so do tune in for that. Joining me now with some Republican thoughts on what's happening in this session are the two new Republican leaders. It's very nice to see both of you, Senate Minority Leader Len Fasano and House Minority Leader Themis Klarides, and it's lovely to have you both here. I gather there was a little bit of traffic trouble this morning for people coming from almost every direction, it sounded like.
There were accidents everywhere, speaking of transportation.
Which is a little bit crazy on a bright, sunny day like today, but I'm glad to have you both here. Let's talk a little bit about your transportation plan. You presented one about a week ago, and it seemed as though it was almost rejected right away by the governor.
Well, unfortunately, that's been our concern all the way. We certainly want to work with the governor and the Democrat majority as much as possible because we believe that that's when the citizens of Connecticut get the best results. I think it's interesting that they didn't take a close look at it and discuss it with us, but unfortunately that's how it's been going along the way, and we hope to change that.
Senator, your plan, the Republican plan, was much different. It called for no tolls, no tax hikes. I think it was a 30-year plan, $37 billion. And he did not pick out specific projects. Why was that?
Well, a couple of things. First of all, if you consider the federal match, we're talking about $67 billion over 30 years. I think the governor's plan is looking at a 50-year payout, so if you brought ours to 50 years, it'd be over $100 billion. So there's plenty of money to do it. We didn't pick projects because we're not experts in transportation. We've got a very competent DOT commissioner, Mr. Redeker, who has an idea of what to do. He's done a great job in New Jersey when he was there. So it's not up for us to say this project or that project. I'm going to leave it to the professionals. Representative Klarides and I met with a lot of these folks, the people on the Transportation Strategy Board folks who have ideas. Let them work it out with Commissioner Redeker, and they'll pick what is the best bang for the buck. Not legislators. We don't know anything about transportation. That's not our job. Our job is to give the resources necessary.
One of the things that you mentioned in your plan I thought was very interesting was talking about fully funding or fully staffing the DOT, that there are something like 130 positions that are open. I've heard that because of all the positions that are open, that a lot of projects that we could have gotten funding for, we're almost on the verge of handing back federal money because we haven't been able to put a shovel in the ground.
Yeah, and that's a problem in several of our agencies. And after Senator Fasano and I had extensive conversations with the commissioner, that was one of the problems he mentioned. And he's our commissioner, so it's certainly something that we take what he says very seriously. And as far as the plan goes, the people of this state want a few things. We all agree that transportation is a priority. We just disagree on how we should fund it. So we thought and we believe that our plan is very fiscally sound. It doesn't have tolls in it, and it doesn't have tax increases. And those are the two things people wanted that we've heard all around the state. So with no tolls and no tax increases and, $100 million to fund it, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. Is it all the money for every project? Absolutely not. But we know that we can't get every program, every project we want. We have to figure out how we're going to do it in a responsible way, and we believe that our plan is that.
I know I can't keep you for too long because you have a budget briefing coming up, but Senator Fasano, tell me a little bit about your reaction to the governor's proposal on lowering the sales tax.
And I just have to hit that transportation one quick
please.
second. Don't forget, when Governor Malloy ran in his last election, he said, and he promised the Connecticut people, in my budget I put in a number to hire 114 new engineers in DOT. This is going to put transportation as number one priority. And he never did that. He talked about it, he put the number in, but he needed that number, and he knew this, to pay for the deficit he was running. So it was a little disingenuous by saying he was going to do that and never did. We did that. Representative Klarides and I realized that is a problem, and we took care of it, and we fully funded it. So we've taken care of a problem that he's recognized and failed to do. As far as the sales tax, basically what he is doing, Governor Malloy, is he is balancing the budget on the back of those who can't afford it. There's a clothing tax that normally clothing under $50 would not be taxed. That's a policy we made. Essentials that people who are struggling day to day want to buy their kids sneakers or shoes or pants or what have you. So we said we're not going to charge a sales tax. He promised to put that back on July 1st. Now he's taking that promise away again, so we could reduce the sales tax starting in November from 6.35 to 6.2, and then further again in April. So on $20, he's saving me 3 cents. Meanwhile, a person who goes buys $50 worth of clothing has have to pay $3.18. You know what? I don't need my 3 cents. Keep it 3 cents. But I know that somebody who's working hard to raise a family can use a break. That's what we should be doing it. And he's putting this little shiny new idea to draw the attention away from a tax increase that he's putting in effect starting July 1st, 2015. And it's wrong.
Is that how the numbers come out to you as well, with your advisors, on what that would cost people?
Yes, certainly both of our caucuses agree on that, but I think the biggest thing that people that are watching and hear this today have to take away is, when you talk about the middle class, $50 for clothing and shoes is a lot of money. Okay, it's a lot of money, and there was a lot of thought put in for many years as to how that can, we can help the middle class, and that's what the majority of people are. And that $50 is a big deal. So to say I'm going to lower your sales tax on one hand, but then take away on the other, I mean, it's the old adage, Peter and Paul. I mean, you can't take away from me on one and then give it back to me on the other, because there's no net gain. And so that $50 means a lot to people. It means a lot to people.
I just want to ask one other question, and that is a little bit off this topic, but I would like to discuss. Do you think that the cuts that the governor is probably going to outline today, are we talking about cuts that you think that you will be able to live with? We haven't heard anything about really shrinking the workforce other than through attrition. Would you be looking for maybe the unions to come back with some more give-backs, or what do you think the answer might be to trying to shrink the budget?
Well, we certainly need to see the entire budget. I mean, we've heard bits and pieces, as you have. So we're going to have to take a look at the whole thing before we figure out what the bottom line is. But I think that facing a $1.3 billion deficit next year and 1.4 in the year after, and that's assuming we don't go up anymore from where we are now, excuse me, in this fiscal year that ends June 30th. That's not a safe assumption to make.
And I guess that's assuming certain revenue comes in that we can't be guaranteed of.
Correct. We have a real problem in this state of guaranteeing revenue and controlling expenses. And that just speaks to the fact that I don't think this governor has done the right thing policy-wise to both increase revenue and get a hold on expenses. And we need to change.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being with us. I know that you have a budget briefing that you're about to have, so thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be talking to you throughout the session. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Diane. Thank you. I do want to just cut away to a couple of